Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this week's Punch, Kick, Choke Chat. It's almost redundant at this point to talk about how excited I am, but every week I just get giddy around 5 p.m. on the Thursday thinking about the evening ahead. I make my tea, and I'm just so happy that you're all back here with us. And our guest tonight has just been one of the staunchest supporters of this show, and that's in no way the reason he's on the show, but we appreciate you and him and all of you supporting the show so much. And Sensei Dolphin was just talking to our guest and saying, we get all the benefit, the guests get none. And it's very true. My name's Sean Benson. I'm one of your hosts tonight. And it is my pleasure every week to introduce Sensei Suino. I always say he's an 8th Dan in Iaido, a 6th Dan in Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, a 6th Dan in Judo. And I always think about Sensei Suino, where he fits in the martial arts community, but often in my life. And Sensei Suino, you talked about this a bit when you were our first ever guest on Punch, Kick, Choke Chat. And I'm working on a project with a couple old camp friends that I won't talk about yet, but we're already after 24 hours in like phase 3 of our project because of one phrase that you taught me: speed of implementation. And I just want to say thank you for that, because quite literally, me and these buddies could talk about this or we could move the thing forward. And I told them the phrase and they both just went, what the fuck? That's speed of implementation is my new mantra. And I said, well, you have to thank my Iaido and hopefully one day judo instructor, because he gave that to me. So thank you for that. How are you doing this week, Sensei?
Doing great, man. It's good to see you. I like the way you're looking today with the camouflage hat and a little bit of beard.
Can you even see my head?
Oh, yeah.
I can see my head. It's camouflage.
It's disappeared, I know. It's crazy, right? But you're obviously a champion because it's written
I feel
right there.
cozy today, Sensei.
Yeah. Credit where credit is due. Probably the main reason I use that phrase is because of my longtime friend and business partner, Don Pryor. Sometimes we'll get on an email or a phone together and we'll say, hey, we got this project coming up. There's XYZ to do. What do you think? And, oh, that's about 3 weeks work. We can plan it, do all that. And then one or the other of us will have had the project done in about 20 minutes. It just, sometimes you get in your own way, right? And so speed of implementation, as you noticed, it's just an absolutely amazing, simple principle that works really, really well. So it falls on me to introduce Sensei Randy Dolphin, who is a terrific friend of mine. I just want to say that I have studied martial arts with people from all over the world. I was thinking about that tonight on my way here to the office. USA, Canada, Puerto Rico, Mexico. I mean, Brazil, Great Britain, Italy, the Middle East, African Congo, South Africa, many places in Eastern Europe, Scandinavia, Hong Kong, Taiwan. These are where the people are from. Vietnam, Philippines, Jamaica, Sensei Copeland, of course, from Jamaica, among others, and many, many countries. When the calendar switches to 2021, I will have been involved in martial arts for 53 years. And in all that time, I've seen a few qualities that truly make up exceptional martial artists. And as it turns out, there's 4 people that come to mind when I think about that. 2 of them are on this call. And 2 train at my dojo, which is kind of cool. The first quality is passion for the martial arts. And Randy clearly has an incredible amount of passion for the martial arts, a lot of which he gets from his original sensei, who's one of the other 2 people I was alluding to. Loyalty is another question, another quality or trait that is absolutely key. It's come up on this show many times, but with some of our lifetime martial artists. And I don't know that I've ever met anybody as loyal to his instructors and his martial art as Randy. Commitment is another. And by commitment, I mean, not only do you row your boat onto the shore of your martial art and burn it, but you also commit to showing up, as often as need be, and to doing what it takes to get there. And then I think one of the most interesting ones, which both Hanchi Legacy and Randy share, which is really fascinating to me to see how this works. Pride and humility exist in the same person, and I think without but those 2 qualities, I don't think you can really become an exceptional martial artist. Pride in what you do and aspiring to absolutely the highest heights of whatever that might be, whether it be karate, iaido, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, whatever, but also humility, the ability to go from that to I'm absolutely an empty vessel and I can learn and I have to learn and I'm going to be here now and do what it takes. Again, those 4/5 qualities, I just see them come up again and again in the handful of amazing martial artists I know. And I'm happy to say Randy's like the Templar, the exemplar of that set of qualities. Randy, it's wonderful to see you. And I believe I turn it over to you at this point.
Thanks so much, Sensei. That's definitely I'm feeling super good based on that introduction. I'm sure Sensei Legacy's feeling good on that too. I will say the whole pride and humility thing, it made me think about when we were in Japan and we were watching, it was in Kano's dojo, right?
At the Kodokan, yeah.
At the Kodokan, and we were you had come up off the floor and you came up next to me because I wouldn't go out there because it was black belt only class and I was afraid I would get something broken like my neck or my leg or something. That's the humility part, right? The pride part I'll say is you bumped me in the shoulder and you said, look at that kid over there, Randy. And I said, what am I looking at, Sensei? He goes, he reminds me of you. I said, why is that? You said, he's better than everybody on the floor and his total disdain for everybody around him.
And it was true, wasn't it? I mean, the guy was right. If you go to the golf course and you see Tiger Woods, right? That guy was the Kodokan equivalent of Tiger Woods, just head and shoulders above everybody. It was amazing.
Yeah. And then we saw him in the pouring rain on the sidewalk. And I said, in the pitch black, and I said, that's the guy right there, isn't it? And he goes, yeah, he stands out in the rain, in the dark, on the corner in Tokyo as well, right? Anyway, thank you so much, Sensei Suino, for that introduction. I'm always super proud whenever Sensei Legacy, the greatest feeling I have is when Sensei Legacy or Sensei Suino say something nice about me, then I feel like I'm on the right track. So thank you so much for doing that. As far as the speed of implementation, that's why this is going. Punch, kick, choke, chat is because when we had a meeting about it and I said to Sensei Suino, this is an idea. And I said, I think in 2 months we should do this. He said, fuck that. You need to do it next week. Like next week we need to be doing this. And that's what happened. Next week we were doing it. But for me, I'm always excited because I always get to introduce Sensei Legacy and I always get to introduce the guests. So Sensei Legacy, as I've said many times now, 19 or 20 or 24 times on this show, he's a student of Harold Warden, Benny Allen, Richard Kim, and now he is a student of Anthony Sandoval. I'm going to be bold and say that I think Benny Allen was one of the people who affected him most. People have said things like, well, what did Benny Allen teach, right? What did he teach? Through my conversations with Sensei Legacy, I know one thing for sure. He taught a lot of amazing technique. And when I look over here on the wall, I can see a picture of him and Sensei Legacy standing there doing Goju-Ryu together. So I know for sure he taught kata as well. I know he taught a lot of fighting. And one thing I know is that Benny Allen taught Sensei Legacy how to have a personal connection with his teacher. He taught him that. I think he also taught him how to be inspired and how to try to achieve something that maybe was unattainable. And for Sensei Legacy, the thing that he always talked about with Benny Allen was power. And I know for his whole lifetime in martial arts, he was trying to achieve that same power level. Sensei Legacy is the 10th Dan. He was awarded that by his teacher, Anthony Sandoval, legitimately. I was there when it happened. He's also a member of the Canadian Black Belt Hall of Fame. As Sensei Moledzki was saying, he's now an author, which everybody's very excited about. For 30 years, he was an instructor at the University of Western Ontario. And I want to just say something about one night when I was there. One of the things about Sensei Legacy is when he's teaching and demonstrating to a crowd of people who don't do martial arts, he will often say, if you don't believe I can do what I say I'm doing, you can feel free to come out here. And on this particular occasion, a very strong, muscular young man walked out onto the floor and said, "I don't think you can get out of my bear hug." Well, Sensei Legacy looked at him and said, "Why don't you throw me in your best bear hug?" And I remember at that time, I was, I think, a first degree black belt or a second degree black belt. I was a bit nervous because this person was big and I was thinking, what's going to happen here? Well, this guy grabbed a hold of Sensei Legacy. And then very instantly, his face went, he made this face. And Sensei Legacy was smiling because he had snuck his hands behind his back and grabbed a hold of this young gentleman by the testicles. Well, you would like to think that that would be enough, but he just didn't let go. And this person made some really funny sounds. He kept going, "Whoo, whoo." He sounded like a great horned owl while Sensei Legacy was squeezing a hold of his scrotum and not letting him go. For me, another thing about my relationship with Sensei Legacy, which I often bring forward in these talks, is just that unspoken thing. And one unspoken thing that I will say is, once when I was fighting in Venezuela, Sensei Legacy was up in the crowd, like probably like 50 stands away. And he was filming with one of those old cameras. And after the fact, when we came home and looked at that film together, we both laughed because before the referee said "Hajime," the person tried to throw a sidekick at me over the referee's hand. And into the camera, Sensei Legacy said, "That guy just made a mistake. You watch. When the referee says Hajime, Randy's going to rush him and score." Sure enough, when the referee dropped his hand and said Hajime, that person was trying to lift his leg. And I was good enough to be able to, thanks to Sensei Legacy's teaching, to land a reverse punch. And it's very interesting that Sensei Legacy trained me to a level that he knew that something like that would happen. So thank you very much for that, Sensei Legacy. And that's my introduction for Sensei Legacy. And now I want to talk about Sensei Sam Moledzki. The more this night has approached, the more happy and excited I've become that we are going to be doing this. Sensei Moledzki was introduced into the martial arts and began in 1967 while studying boxing and competing as a member of the Midland Avenue Collegiate Gymnastics team. He began practicing, that's the same as you, Sensei Suino, both former gymnasts. He began practicing karate-do under the instructions of Master Kei Tatsumura at the Japanese Canadian Culture Center in Don Mills, Ontario. In 1970 is when he received his black belt, and today he's an 8th degree black belt. In addition, he's also a black belt in Kabuto and also in Iaido, actually in the same style of Iaido as myself and Sensei Legacy, Sensei Suino. I will say that in my readings and in talking to other people who've been on this show, that Sensei Moledzki has a prolific competitive career. He's competed regionally, nationally, internationally for decades. He's also led, coached, and trained many international Canadian karate teams, as well as he's trained throughout both Canada, the United States, Mexico, and many times in Japan and Okinawa. As well, he's a well-respected national and international referee. He currently has clubs in Quebec, Ontario, British Columbia, and the United States. And while he only teaches privately now in his Hombo dojo, at one point he had 9 commercial clubs. Like Sensei Legacy, in 2013, he was inducted in the Canadian Black Belt Hall of Fame. And that's, I think, the place, Sensei Moledzki, where you and I first met each other, is at
Yes.
Canadian
Yes,
Black Belt Hall of Fame when Sensei Legacy was being
Yes.
inducted. I guess Sean already alluded to this. He's been like so extremely gracious and supportive of the work we've been doing here on Punch Kick Choke Chat. My thought is that in addition to being, honestly, a total badass, this guy's a total badass, and he's a total legit martial artist. I find him also to be totally genuine about who he is on the floor and off of the floor, as well as what he's done and where he's been. There's no lying from this man. He's an honest person. When I've listened to him talk and read what he sends me, he doesn't mince his words and he tells it as he sees it, which I really like. I love that, actually. And I really respect that. I can think of many things he said to me and that I can relate to, many, many things. It's funny when Sensei Suino is talking about humility and pride. Sensei Moledzki is somebody who's really proud of his accomplishments. And when I look through his accomplishments, I can understand why he's proud of them. He's what I think martial arts masters should be. And I love that today he's as passionate about martial arts as he was in 1967. That's one of the things I really like. He's well-traveled, he's intelligent, he's hardworking, he's resilient, skilled. And as I said, he's genuine and honest. He's done a lot for martial arts in Canada and in the world. And I really want to thank him for that. He's what martial arts in our societies needs more of today. I said it, he's a badass. And I want to say, this guy's really actually a sensei. That's what Sensei Moledzki is. He's a sensei. And on that note, I'm going to turn it over to you, Sean, and let you do what you do.
Great. So before we get into the big part of the interview, everybody watching, we really want your questions. We welcome your questions. If your questions are shite, they will not be passed on. But anything that passes a certain standard, although we were chatting with Sensei Moledzki before, and we might let some shitty questions through just so he can tell you they're shitty and move on. We might play with that this week. But in any case, all jokes aside, or not, that I know of, down at the bottom, our amazing host Tori just put up there, enter your questions for Sensei Moledzki here, and we really look forward to feathering those into our interview, as well as you've heard already. You know, you're going to hear some off-color language, maybe more tonight than any night we've ever had, which excites me because I usually swear too much. But the point is that this is a bunch of adults having a conversation. And if you're watching and you're offended, or your children are watching and they're offended, there's probably a church on the corner you can go to and pray that God removes the devil from our tongues. Other than that, yes, Sensei Dolphin.
You know, we didn't mention one thing, Sean, which is a big thank you to Victoria Feth for hosting tonight in the background. And we didn't mention that the reason why Victoria Feth is hosting tonight is because Robert Schlumsky, a longtime member of Legacy Shorin-ryu Karate Jitsu, is now a dad. He became a dad a couple nights ago, twins. He's the father of twins now. A little boy and a little girl, and we're super excited for him. So sorry to interrupt, but I needed to punch that in there.
That's beautiful. That's the right kind of interruption. And if there's one thing we've heard with 95% of our guests is, you know, once you win that first tournament and get that first black belt, it becomes about something much deeper and more important. And thanks for interjecting with that, Sensei Dolphin. Sensei Moledzki, over to you. How do you like hearing how do you like being amped up by our show like that? How do you like your introduction?
Yeah, it's kind of I don't know, strange. Sometimes I have to give myself a shake and say, you know, are they talking about me or somebody else? You know, because what I found over decades of training is that you know, if I'm successful in one part of something, then that's great just for that moment. Or if it's a competition, you know, I won that championship, perfect, great, but let's move on. You know, so it excites me at that particular time. After that, it's just like, okay, that was nice. Now, what else is there? So I guess I could call myself amateur historian. I love history, so I like to dwell in that general background of what it is that makes people do what they do, including, you know, especially martial artists, and, you know, it doesn't matter which martial art, just the various martial arts. So I'm lucky. I had I guess I would say that the very beginning of my spark into this martial art community came from one of my former high school classmates, not in my class, but he was a senior to me, Mr. Jim Hart. And Jim Hart, we heard rumors that, hey, you know, you don't want to mess with this guy. He's a karate guy. And, you know, so of course, back in the 66, we're kind of going, what the hell's karate, you know? So he eventually, you know, inspired me to the point where we had a conversation, and he actually, I didn't realize that until I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, trying to clarify some information. And he said that we had this conversation and I tried to convince you to come to join our club. And unfortunately, I never did join the Higashi School of Karate. I joined the Japanese Canadian Culture Center just down the road.
Mhm.
So, and that was, you know, I think Jim Hart graduated in 67. I graduated high school in 68. So he was my senior, and he got his black belt in 67, and I officially started training in 67.
Right.
So he's my senior in many respects, but we're the same age. So and I didn't know that. I thought he was a lot older. Sorry, Jim. But apparently we're the same age. So I thought, wow, that's cool, you know. And then, you know, he's a well-respected person in the Higashi School of Karate. And if you don't know it, well, then I'll tell you that Higashi Sensei Shane Higashi was the first Canadian karate champion in 1963 or 64. So the first Canadian tournament was won by, I think, somebody Anderson in the States. And then the second annual tournament was won by Shane Higashi Sensei. And that, you know, and that was like in, like I say, 63, 64 or something. So it was a name that, you know, you kind of go, oh, karate, oh, this guy. And, you know, ironically, we have a mutual thing that Higashi Sensei was a architect, and I graduated architecture in high school, and then I went on to drafting and started off in architecture, ended up in various lines of drafting and structural steel, the first job, and then mechanical drafting, and then civil engineering drafting, and then I eventually joined the Toronto Transit Commission, and 33 years later I left, you know, retired, and you know, got a nice pension and said, thanks guys, you know, it was a slice. But in that time frame, the TTC would allow me to take my vacation when I wanted it, not when they wanted me to take it. So I would take it when I had to travel to Japan. And that was usually almost every time was during the fall time. And so it was good for the TTC that they didn't care, because everybody took the summer off, you know. I'd take the fall off, right? So, you know, I'd be gone for a month, you know, whatever. And it was great. So, yeah. So my introduction, actually, the spark was from Jim Hart, and my best friend from public school. And I didn't know this until I spoke to Jim a couple of weeks ago. He clarified that my best friend, Bill Pinkerton, Pinky, he remembers Pinky at the old high school on the Danforth, public school on the Danforth, Oak Ridge Public School. And I remember Oak Ridge, it was a termite infested place that they and eventually tore down. But I think Pinky went there, and so did Jim Hart in public school. And he would remember, because Bill Pinkerton, as you can tell by the name, he's Irish background. And, you know, and you know, and with a name like Moledzki, I'm definitely not Irish, you know. So Pinky's name, Jim Hart would say, I remember him, you know, all I would remember hearing was, oi, Jimmy, oi, Jimmy. So it's like, you know, this Irish accent calling him Jimmy, you know, rather than, hey, Jim, you know. So that was kind of interesting to know that they actually knew each other in the public school era as well as me, you know. So Pinky and I grew up together, and we experienced many interesting situations. And we were exposed to, an interesting time. But in 67, Pinky came to me one day and he says, "Hey man," he says, "let's go check out this new Japanese martial arts stuff." I said, "What the hell is that?" He says, "Oh, I don't know, Aikido or something." I said, "Aikido? What the hell is Aikido?" And he went, "I don't know, man. Let's go check it out." I said, "Well, where is it?" He says, "Downtown Toronto." And we're from Scarborough, right? So, oh, okay, yeah, all right. So, we actually bought a '58 Pontiac, $50 each, and drove it into the ground. Anyways, we drove downtown looking for this Aikido place, and when we arrived, it was a Sunday and it was closed. So it's like, oh, damn. So then Pinky says, "Well, oh, don't worry about it." He says, "Man, I know another place." I said, "Oh yeah, oh cool. Where's that?" He says, "Oh, the Japanese Canadian Culture Center." I said, "Where the hell is that?" He says, "Oh, Don Mills." "Oh, Don Mills. All right, yeah." I said, "How do you know that?" He says, I played there last week at a wedding reception." So Pinky's a very accomplished drummer.
Okay.
And if you know anything about music, then most musicians can read sheet music, but very few can read drum music.
Right.
So Pinky can read drum music and sheet music, and he's played in orchestras and with different bands. And in 67, 68, no, I think I was 67. I was a yellow belt, and I ended up getting a job with him through him with the Midnights, Richie Knight and the Midnights, which is a Canadian band. Their number one hit in Canada was "Oh Charlena" in '62. So I ended up working, being a roadie, and a bouncer. So we did gigs everywhere, and I would be stage left off to the side, and with some sweetie, having some fun. And then of course the music would be playing, and then the lead singer at the time when I was with them was a guy, Frankie. And Frankie, he was the white James Brown. You know what I mean? It was an R&B band, and he had white suit and platinum blonde hair, and and he would croon to all the girls in the audience. So of course the guys would get pissed off, right? And so all the girls are going, "Oh," and the guys are going, "Ah." So eventually a few of the guys would get pissed off, and they would try to get up on the stage.
Hey, Sensei, I want to make sure we don't miss this, because you've packed a lot in there, but I really want to make sure we get back a little bit to your first steps into the dojo and kind of what that experience was like. I know Sean has some great questions around that.
Sure.
Well, the one thing I wanted to get to ask was, according to the online information we have, you had been boxing. So
Yeah.
what is it about walking in 1967 into a karate dojo that makes you go, okay, I'm gonna do this instead?
All right. You picture this. I was leading up to it, but anyways, so we go to the Japanese Canadian Culture Center on a Sunday because the Aikido dojo was closed. So we end up going there at the Japanese Canadian Culture Center. We walk into this marvel of Canadian architecture by Raymond Moriyama back in the day, and it was like a beautiful building. We walk in the lobby, and there's this wee little Japanese guy. So, and we're two 18-year-old punks. We, walk in, strutting in. We're going, "Hey, you got any Aikido here?" And of course, the little Japanese guy, I think it was Bob Kataguchi, he goes, "Oh, no Aikido." "Oh, Aikido, no Aikido." "Oh, okay, man, take it easy, So I said, "You got any Aikido?" He said, "No." "Judo, Kendo, Karate do." I went, oh, okay. What's a Karate do? He went, "Oh, Monday, Judo, Tuesday, Kendo, Karate do." "Oh, same place?" "Oh, no. 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, Kendo. 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, Karate do." "Oh, okay." So I came back the very next Tuesday. Now picture this, a big auditorium, big double doors, open the doors. I walk in and went, holy shit, there is 100 people lined up, 10 10 rows of 10 deep with these funny white suits, different colored belts, and they're all going, hey, yeah, screaming and punching and kicking and yelling. I'm going, damn, this is interesting. Yeah, I think I'm going to like this place. So I'm standing at the back of the dojo watching. And of course, the sensei's walking by, and back in those days, it was, you just, you had to tough it out. So everybody in the front row would usually get a smack, checking you out. And they'd be punching, and the sensei would come by and he'd punch you in the gut, or he'd kick you in the gut, whatever, just to check to see if if your muscles are tense, everything else. So we move along the row, and I'm standing at the back, and this poor kid, I think he was a ginger, orange, redhead, because he had an orange belt that it matched his hair. And I thought, oh, this is going to be fun. Unfortunately, he was fat. He's a big fat kid. But look, sensei comes by, and the kid's going, aye. And the sensei roundhouses him in the gut, and the kid goes, and he lets one rip. The whole place broke right up. This kid just farted beyond, like I could hear it out the door. The whole place, and Sensei just went, ooh, and he stormed off. It was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna like this place. So that's my introduction to 67 and saying, wow, I think I'm gonna enjoy it. Why? Let me do a little bit of backstory. Most people don't know this, but I grew up in a small town in Ontario, Niagara Falls, basically. I'm an immigrant. I was born in Europe, and I immigrated to Canada in 1950 with my mother and my brother. My father came a year before in 49. They were both, my parents, they met in a concentration camp. My father was part of the Polish resistance in the Warsaw Uprising. He got caught. And because we're not from the Jewish extraction, he got sent to Germany to work in a camp. And when Hitler tore through Europe, he, also went through Bulgaria. My mother's Bulgarian, and her mother got snatched up, and they met in this camp in Germany. And years later, I think that was in 44, and then in 45 the war ended, and in the meantime I think they got married in the early part of 45, and then my brother was born in 46 in Germany, and I was born in 48 in Germany. So we were born in Braunschweig, which translates to Brunswick, Germany. Not New Brunswick, but Brunswick, Germany. And so growing up in my father got a job in hydro because they came around to the Germany was broken up into 3 sectors: the Allied forces, Russia, USA, and Britain. So they controlled Germany after the war, and luckily I think we were in the British sector. So the British representatives came and asked anybody, they want to emigrate to their countries, including any Commonwealth country, Canada or Britain. So luckily my father chose Canada. I don't know why. So he came to Canada working for the hydro. And we lived in small towns up north in Mattawa, in Timmins, in Thunder Bay, I think maybe even North Bay. And then we moved down to Queenston and then eventually to Niagara. And then we settled in Niagara Falls. But what I'm getting at is my father was not a very nice person. He was a very abusive parent. My mother had to leave the household and take my younger sister. My sister was born in Canada in 50. Take my younger sister and escape. When she left, she had a broken nose and a broken arm. So my father was very abusive, and I was 6 years old. My brother was 8. So from that point on until my mother came and rescued us years later, from that, we pretty much got beaten every day. So my father just took out his aggression, anger, whatever it was, on us. So and it didn't matter, he would grab a belt and he just, as long as he hit you, he didn't care. And back then, nobody cared about, you go to school with bruises and cuts and shit.
Right.
Back in the 50s, it was like, well, yeah, you just kind of just don't look at it. So yeah, so we grew up getting, getting used to getting beaten a lot. So, and my father liked to play around, and so he was always out. So we pretty much grew up on the street. We had a lot of negative experiences, I put it that way, without getting too much into to that side of life. But I'll relate one quick story. My brother and I, we used to grew up in the pool halls pretty much.
Mhm.
And my brother was a pretty good pool shark. So he had a good eye. He's actually quite intelligent. Anyways, so one of the guys that used to hang around was a Italian guy. And if you know anything about Niagara Falls in the 50s, it was controlled by the Buffalo Mafia. So this guy, Bruno was his name. And he was like 22, 23. And, we were like 12 and 15 years old or something, right? So we always look up to the guy. He was a strapping, good looking, olive skin and real shock, nice Italian hair and, muscular and everything. And he had a few prison tats and, so, one day he comes into the pool hall and he's got this Band-Aid, wrapped around his arm and go, "Hey, Bruno, che cazzo fai? What the fuck? Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, hey, what's going on here? What happened?" He says, I cut myself. I said, "What happened?" He says, my girlfriend left me." "So what'd she do? She cut you or what?" No, I had a tattoo. So I got rid of the tattoo." "How'd you get rid of the tattoo?" He says, "Hey, sandpaper. Hey, sandpaper." Malone. Hey. So this is kind of the guy you go, "Oh, okay. Sandpaper." He just got rid of the tattoo, just bandaged it up.
So you walked into that dojo and you connected to that, and you were okay with the discipline. You found something you needed.
Let's put it this way. My background, if I had have not found karate, I would probably be dead or in prison. My brother and I found my first dead guy when I was 9. So just to go from there, it was a negative growing up experience. But when my mother came to rescue us, I was 13, and just to let you know what I was getting a beating. The old man was clobbering me, one of these, and I was covering up. And my brother had walked in at that time, and he basically grabbed my father by the shoulder, spun him around, and dropped him. He was 15 years old.
Uh-huh.
So he dropped the old man, and went, "Oh, you hit your father?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "You ever touch my brother again?" He says, "I'll kill you this time." The beating stopped.
Yeah.
So from that, my mother came just shortly after that, rescued us, and she was living in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Now we come to Toronto. What do? First place we go is pool halls.
Right.
And what do? You meet the same kind of people.
Sure.
So the lifestyle just continued on until my buddy Pinky and I, decided this, hey, let's check out this Aikido stuff. So from that point on, when we got into the Japanese Canadian Cultural Center, it was like, wow, it's disciplined, it's structured, it's physical, and plus, hey, they got some nifty moves,
Right.
So, it's like, yeah, I can really like this. And my sensei was Tsumura Sensei. Tsumura was more like a uncle or stepfather to me, and he guided me all through 15 years with him. And then unfortunately politics entered that point, and I decided to leave. 10 years on my own, and then I joined up with my other sensei, Murayama, and we go from there.
Well, I just want to say
Sensei
I'm sorry
Moledzki.
about that stuff with your father, and thanks for sharing that. I really appreciate the depth on that. Sensei Dolphin, pardon me.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Sensei Moledzki, I was going to say almost exactly the same thing. Thanks for sharing those. It's really brave to share that those personal items with people. Everybody's going to grow from that. When you and I chatted earlier today, you had asked me to bring up a couple names to you.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the names that I wanted to bring up to you that you mentioned was Sensei Benny Allen. Just because we're always looking for history on him, and I know you've interacted with him in the past, so it'd be interesting to hear any thoughts or comments you have about him, how you felt about him, and how he influenced you.
Sure. Okay. My pleasure. Let me prep it by this. My buddy Pinky and I, and my other buddy Terry, three of us, and Terry Witsu actually was one of the first instructors at the university there in Waterloo, teaching karate. Anyways, back in the day. So we were going to go to a competition. So three of us, green belts, we got our gis, and the green belt wrapped around it and over our shoulder, and we're strutting down to Union Station in Toronto.
Yeah.
Take the train to Montreal, I think it was. No, Ottawa. So we're walking down there, and we see this good-looking dude, and going, "Hey, that guy looks familiar." Wally Slokey. So we go, "Oh, isn't that that looks like Wally Slokey?" So yeah, okay. Anyway, so we kind of went, never mind. So we, because we're, brash, we're like 18, 19 now, like, yeah, screw them. So off we go. So we go into the bar, and get on the train, get into the bar car, so we're sitting down there and we're having a pint, and Slokey comes walking in. He goes, "Where are you guys going?" And so we look at him and go, like, "The fuck's it to you?" So it was like, he just kind of looked and went, "I'm just curious." He says, "Well, we're going to a tournament." "Oh, what kind of tournament?" "Karate." "Oh, okay. What are you doing?" "I'm going there too." "Oh, so remember, we're green belts." "Okay, what color belt are you?" "Second Dan." "Oh, oh, okay. Right. Sit down, have a beer,
What are you drinking, sir?
Yeah, what are you drinking, So next thing you know, he says, Wally said, "If I remember correctly, why don't you come and join us?" So, who? He says, some of our friends. So we go down through the cars, and then there's when I first met Benny Allen, Jim Fields. I don't think Teddy Martin was there. But of course, Wally and a couple others from the dojo, and they're all going to the Ottawa tournament. So we started with sitting down, and we're not part of that organization, but we already heard about Slokey, and so he said, yeah. So, and Benny was very cordial and said, "Join us, have a drink." "Okay, bye." By the time we got to Ottawa, we're all shit-faced. Really bad, and we took the midnight train from Toronto, to Ottawa. And by the time we got there, and it's a pit stop, every little town, right? So we just kept, we get to Lansdowne Stadium. We were sleeping on the grounds, right? Because we're still hungover. And then we finally got chased out of there and said, "Okay, the tournament's over here." "Oh, okay." So then we go there, and we're still, half in the bag, and everybody was smoking at that time, cigarettes, and I think that's the first time I also met, met
We know better.
Taekwondo, Jung Park. So Jung Park was up in the audience, and I thought, this guy looks Japanese, but when he was talking, I went, "That ain't Japanese." So I eventually went over and asked him. I said, "Where are you from?" "Korea." "Oh, okay." So then years later, or I think a year later, I ended up going downtown and meeting Park Jung-soo, and Wally was trained in there at that time. So I was like, "Oh, Wally, how you doing?" So yeah, so that's my introduction with Benny Allen. I didn't have too much of an interaction personally with him, but what I do recall is my first real estate agent, that when I sold one of my houses, that eventually to move around Toronto. Her daughter, I think, was either married to Benny or was going out with Benny Allen at the time. So yeah, so that was kind of ironic,
So one thing I want to throw out is, I'd like you to meet Sensei Suino, so to speak, and talk to us about your journey toward Iaido and how you and he, have interactions through Sensei Suino's sensei. I don't know if you call him your sensei, but I'd love for you guys to dovetail there.
Sure. Okay. My introduction into Iaido came through Tsumura Sensei. Tsumura Sensei, he's a Japanese Canadian. Same with the father of Canadian karate, Masami Tsuruoka Sensei, Japanese Canadian, and Shane Higashi, Japanese Canadian. Anyways, they were all from born in BC, different places in BC, and so Tsumura Sensei's father was a judo or kendo guy. So he in Steveston, BC. So a lot of the Japanese settled there, and a lot of martial art training was going on there. So Tsumura Sensei was he went to Ryerson and he became for journalism, and he's the English editor of the Japanese Canadian newspaper in Toronto. So he met a lot of martial artists that immigrate to Canada, stay here for a year or 2 years or whatever it is, and then they go back to Japan and then bring what they learned here back to Japan, and they go from there. So he is exposed to a lot of martial artists, and he met again different martial arts, and he one of his friends was Mas Inokuchi, and Masami Inokuchi was Aikido guy, and not the guy that we're looking for. And he was also teaching one of his students, Claude Vec, was teaching Iaido. So because I started in 67, but in 68, I was already doing weapons through Tsumura Sensei, and the sword and the basic stuff right away with the Tsumura Sensei. So I found that, the samurai sword very interesting. So he said, well, come on, I got Claude is come down, and he's training with his, Inokuchi Sensei, but you can come down and he's going to teach you a little bit more about the sword. I went, oh, that's great. So the Iai that they were doing was as an Aikido type. So I don't think it was a Shinden Ryu or Asian Ryu, but anyways, long story short, so I trained with him for a year in Toronto, and then the year after, Tsumura Sensei sent me to Japan. What I have to tell everybody is that, number one, Tsumura Sensei and the Yotosukai organization, every time I went to Japan, they paid for my trip. And I'm eternally grateful all the time. I didn't have to shell out any money or nothing. It was because of whatever my involvement was, whatever, they looked after me. So, so I did this Iaido stuff. So I go to Japan and to the Hombu dojo with the bald-headed guy there, Sakagami Sensei, right there in the middle. The creator of Shitoryu Yotosukai, a student of Mabuni, the founder of Shitoryu. Anyways, so, but Sakagami Sensei was also Judo, Kendo, Iaido, Aikido, Karate-do, Kobudo. If you added up all his dans, it's something like 59 dans, So he was a complete martial artist, and his major was Kendo and Iai. So when I trained with him, he was already a 7th dan in Iaido, and that was like in 76. So I went specifically to learn Iaido because I had that introduction. So of course Tsumura and Sakagami, back and forth communication. So I arrive, Sakagami Sensei picks me up at the airport. It's like, wow, it's the boss is coming to get me. It's like, who the hell am I? I'm just this white boy that, I just want to learn this shit, right? So I go to the dojo, and so first thing out of old man's mouth, English wasn't very good. My Japanese was non-existent at the time, only karate Japanese, right? So, he said, no, yeah. Oh, you want me to show you? Yeah. Okay. So he hands me the sword. Yaito. So okay, yeah. So I start, you go, yeah, yame. Oh, okay. Yeah. So he gets his son, Sadaki, to translate because he spoke a little bit more English. He said, my father says, what you do now, you want to learn Iaido? Forget what you're doing.
Ah.
Oh, okay. So I ain't stupid. I'm here to learn this shit. So it's like, yeah, okay. So yeah, let's forget it. So he said, okay, from that point on, the next morning, I trained with him, Sakigami Sensei, the master, 8 to 10 hours a day. 8 to 10 hours a day. He had an apartment building right beside the dojo. I lived in an apartment. They looked after it. And every morning, 9 o'clock in the morning in the dojo, EI practice, 9 till 12, right? 3 hours, 12 to 1, lunch with the family, 1 till 4, more EI. And then depending on what day it was either kendo, adult, kendo, children, karate do, jodo, or something else he did. Anyways, so every day in the week, it was either two sessions of karate, 2 sessions of kendo, and some other stuff. But he never taught group EI, only one-on-one.
Mm.
So eventually, I found out that it's Muso Jikideration Ryu. And okay. Now you picture this. This is a small dojo, and 4 o'clock. We start training in different martial arts. Finish at 10 o'clock in the evening. So I'm practicing kendo with the kids. The white boy and all these little gaffers like this. And there's this big white guy going. Ah! So playing around with that. And then then we do karate training, and then we have a break, and then we do something else. Then 10 o'clock, the old man comes over and says, "Oh, Samsan, oh, katana. Oh, hey, sensei, hey," grab the sword. 10 till 12, out in the alleyway, me and the old man, so just practicing.
So how long did you sustain this for?
Just over a month.
Mm-hmm.
Every day.
Mm-hmm.
For Saturday, Sunday didn't matter. Every day. So then,
what year was that, Sensei? What year, roughly?
76.
And you were in Tokyo?
Tsurumi.
In Tsurumi. Okay.
Tsurumi, Yokohama district.
Yep.
Yeah, between
Yep.
Kawasaki and Yokohama. Tsurumi.
Yeah, I used to go by there every day. Yep.
Yeah. Train state. Yeah. The blue line. Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. So, I'm training every day, and with O Sensei, and then eventually one day he says, through one of the students there, I think he was a karate student, that Japanese guy, but good English. So he said, tell me that tomorrow I'm having the district manager of the EI organization come and check me out. And I went, why? He said, oh, testing. Oh, okay. Testing. Shit. All right. So it was Ishido sensei, some Shinden Ryu. So Ishido, he was senior to Sakigami. I think Ishido sensei was 8th dan at the time. Sakigami sensei was 7th dan. So what I found out later is that Sakigami sensei said, okay, now Ishido sensei gonna, he give me the eye and check you. Oh, okay. So everything that the old man taught me, I had to demonstrate over and over and over and over. Finally, apparently Ishido sensei said, okay, he can come. So in 76, the next day, the old man says, katana, bag, go. Where? I don't know. I just followed the old man, went to some other city. We show up, there's 250 people being tested for Shodan to 5th dan.
Yep.
And in one day. And guess what? Sakigami sensei is on the panel. He's one of the judges. And Ishido sensei is the boss. So it's like, damn, okay. So I don't know, Suino sensei, I don't know at your time, but at this time, I had no ranking. So the first thing you got to do is you got to get EQ. So you pass EQ, then you do Shodan. So in other words, I had 2 testings. So so I did the I think it was 5 shite kata, you know. So I did the 5 kata, and then they come back and they said for Shodan, 60 people testing for Shodan. I said, oh, okay, and everything's Japanese. They didn't say nothing in English. So you had to, you know, listen. My name, Sam. You know, they don't say Samu-san. You know, so you got to know Samu-san, Moledzki-san, Moledzki-san. Oh, okay, that's me. So you recognize that and you go, okay, oh, here, I got to be there. You do your kata, and then you all the bowing proper off, you know. So then I finished the brown belt testing, then it's black belt testing. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like 20 minutes later. So I'm doing the testing, and one of the cuts that I did, the katas, I knelt down and went, I just realized, holy shit, I'm facing the wrong way. So I just went, spun around, you know, just spun around, and you know, and then it just did the technique. So I finished the 5 kata and boom, boom. Then they said, okay, you know, they give you one of these, come here. You know, we think it's like bugger off, right? Bye-bye. It's like, no, come here. It's like, so I'm going, do they want me to go or do they want me to come? So eventually, okay. So I said, okay, you over here. So now I go over there and I stand there, you know, like, what am I going to do? I don't speak Japanese, you know, so I stood there for about half an hour. Then I see the panel break up. So all the judges, there was like 5 of them, I think. You know, so they there's a big, you know, big discussion. And I'm going, oh, Christ, I'm in shit now, you know, because I faced the wrong direction. And so I think I'm fucked, you know. I think that's it. I failed. So then the panel breaks up, and then Sakagami starts walking down towards me. And one of the other guys that was there, Chuchiya Sensei's testing for 5th Dan, and he's with the Japan Karate Federation, so he's very bilingual. So he meets Chuchiya Sensei. They have a chit chat, and then they both come towards me. And the old man's coming over with me with this grin. I'm looking at him going, oh fuck, I'm screwed, right? So he comes over and he says to Chuchiya Sensei, tell him. So I said, what happened? You know, why the big meeting? Oh, the panel members wanted to know why a 3rd Dan is testing for Shodan. And I went, what? And Sakagami fucking smiled. I just went, and I went, holy shit. So that's a testament to his ability to teach me. It's like, wow. I went, shit, you know. So he says, oh yeah, oh, by the way, now go home. What the fuck? You know, go home. You know, I'm in some other town, you know, so now I got to try to remember what train did I take. You know, since it's Suino, you know that there's lines going every which way. You could end up in Timbuktu if you're not careful.
Yeah.
So eventually I made it back to the Tsurumi. I walk into the house, Sakagami Sensei's house, and Sakagami Sensei's wife said, oh, Sam-san, what happened? I don't know. They didn't tell me. Oh, no, I said, I don't know. Yes, down, up, I don't know. Then maybe a couple hours later, the son comes home. He's working at the Japan Karate Federation office. Sadaki Sensei, he comes home. He says, Sam, what happened? Good? Yeah. I said, I don't know, Sensei. Oh, then finally the old man comes home. He's smiling, goes, and he says, Ichiban. Huh? He said, 60 people testing Shodan. Sam, Ichiban, number 1. Oh,
Nicely done.
Very nice. Very nice.
so I just like, holy fuck, wow, you know. And so I didn't know, you know. I thought I screwed it. So
Right.
just to relate that, Sadaki, the son, told me 3 or 4 days before a story. He was testing for 5th Dan along with all these other people, and one of the guys testing for 5th Dan, he was drawing his sword and it got caught in the nameplate in the front here, you know, that tells you what dojo you are or whatever. And so he went, and he rips it off. Then he failed the fucking test. So I said, why? He says, because if it's live, It's real. By the time you do this, the other guy cut your fucking head off. I went, oh, I get it. Yeah, right. So he related it. So when I knelt down and went, fuck, I'm in the wrong direction, I spun around, did the kata without, and I'll tell you this right now. I've never had that experience again even in Kobudo, where when I was doing the test, I did not feel the sword in my hand. I did not feel it. I was that zoned in, everything just choop, 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 and all I could hear was, and I went, at least I can hear that. That's, I remember the cuts. And I went, damn, oh, so I was happy with that. And the old man was happy too. And then he gave me shit because the next thing is like, okay, now you finish now, karate training, let's go. So then he says, oh, Sam, yeah, agiuke, dame, no gudo. So they put you back in your spot. They build you up. You were number one in the Ido, but your karate sucks. So, okay. So I know the game that they're playing, they just don't want you to get a big swelled head. So, hi, Sensei, hi, and then training harder, so I really liked the old man. He was great to me. Very, very, I mean, I got lots of stories about him, but, there's other people that I had interactions with, let's put it that way, and so I guess some
about
of
one of
the other people that, probably Tony Facetti. You all know about, you heard about who Tony Facetti is, right? I can tell you this honestly, Tony Facetti was technically far superior than Wally Slokey and Teddy Martin. But the thing with Tony Facetti, I was in a competition one day. I don't know. It was an open thing, probably a Kung Fu tournament. I don't know. We used to sneak off and go do the stuff on the side. So we go to the tournament and there's Tony, and so they go, hey, Tony, yeah, you're up. So he's going to compete. He goes running in the ring. Tony's got his running shoes on and he's got his watch on. So they go, wait a minute, yeah, stop. Hey, Tony, take your watch off. Oh shit, sorry. So he takes the watch off. So he comes back in. He's still got his running shoes on. So they're, hey, stop. Tony, come on, take that. Okay, sorry. So he was a nervous guy when it came to competition. But technically, holy shit, it's the first time I saw a guy go, side kick like this, straight up, bing, I went, damn. So Tony one day says to me, Sam, he says, I live around, Little Italy, and Lansdowne and, and around that district down there. And he says, in my area, he says, you keep your mouth shut and your roundhouse in your pocket. He says, because there, bang, and it's set over. So it's like, oh, okay. So that's my Tony Facetti story, Well, God bless his soul. I attended his passing, his funeral in Toronto, and it was a sad day to see him go. But and Teddy Martin, wow, you have to since the legacy might clarify this. When we fought in the 60s, it was not like this. We fought sideways. Pretty much, and it was like boom, boom, boom. So you did a back fist, side kick, and the occasional roundhouse. And then every once in a while, you would throw a gyakuzuki. So I was watching Teddy fight, and he was fighting George Sylvain from Quebec, from Ottawa, actually, Ottawa policeman. And I'm looking at Teddy going, Teddy turns straight, and he starts to go, boom. And George come in with this jumping, and they're trying to do a judo chop. Sorry, Suino Sensei, judo chop. And he's trying to do the shuto, and Teddy Martin just bang, front kicked him and just knocked him back. I went, holy shit, I got to learn to do that more. So from that moment on, that tournament, I went, I'm going to start to work the front kick. Eventually, and people will verify this for you. I'll tell you, like, so I don't know if it was you, Sensei, or Sensei Dolphin said, I'm a terrible liar. So I don't lie. So I'm not good at lying, telling bullshit. shit happens, and that's it. I'm there. So I remember doing this front kick, bang, bang, bang. So for years after, I just practiced this front kick over and over. So I started to modify how I fought. So in the competition, the guys in BC will tell you this. When I won the international championship, Nishiyama was the chief referee for the final match. So I'm fighting this guy, Bino Felix from BC. They all knew I had this feint that you use. And what I used to do is, I'd face him frontwards, and then I'd pick my hand up and scratch my head. As soon as I pick my hand up, I front kick you. Because everybody goes, they look up at your hand, right? What the fuck's he doing up there? So, I just faked them out, feint, bang, front kick. Bino told me after I beat him, he said, son of a bitch. He says, we knew you were going to do that. And we were told, watch, when he puts his hand up there, he's going to front kick. He said, son of a bitch, I couldn't block your fucking kick. So I thought, all right, cool. But Bino and I, we're good friends. And Howard Hewitt, God rest his soul, he just passed away recently with cancer. And, it breaks my heart. These guys that dedicate their lives to, bettering themselves and through martial art, and then the big C gets them, it's like, I lost my mother to pancreatic cancer. I lost my aunt, her sister, to ovarian cancer. So, and I, in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, is it in my side too? So I don't know. Anyways, but yeah. So so I've had the interactions. Pat McCarthy. you had him on as a guest. Pat McCarthy. Quick story. Pat McCarthy and I were both we at different times. We were bouncers in the same place.
Really?
At the Broom and Stone in Toronto. So we used to do a little bit of door work there. So yeah.
Sensei, I have a question for you. Do you know what this is? Do you know what this is?
No, I can't see it.
Okay, well, as a wonderful supporter of the show, this is where I have the 10 questions written.
Oh, okay.
And now,
shit, are we already that far?
Well, the one thing I want to make sure is that we have time to get through them all. And also, I find sometimes if I start them too late, we don't have time to crack into some of the stuff that comes up with them. But we are kind of there.
Holy shit.
So, Sensei,
yes.
We told you, right? We told you, and we had this last week with Sensei Guest. It flies by.
Yeah.
So let's kick through these. What is the most effective move in your martial arts arsenal?
Well, I have to say my mind, how I approach things, but technically as a former competitor, my front kick. I drop guys with that, so yeah, I would have to say first my mind, how I approach it, how the match, everything else, and then technically the front kick.
Who is the most influential martial artist in your life?
Tsumura. First, Keishi Tsumura, my first sensei. Like I said previously, he was a surrogate father, big, not big brother, but uncle, father figure. I learned a lot from him. I'm eternally grateful to what he gave me, to bring me out of the doldrums that I was in the mentality that I came from, the people that I grew up around, and I managed to get away from that, and he brought me up, and and like I said, without a doubt, definitely Sensei Tsumura.
Well, when you mentioned that if it weren't for martial arts, you'd be dead, the other of us on the call all nodded.
Like I can tell you this, that some of the guys, they're either dead now, they're vegetables from drugs, they're deadbeat dads, and they're just the wrong kind of people. So karate took me away from that, and Tsumura Sensei, he was a journalist. He was very smart, very intelligent, and he took me, and brought me up. So I always eternally grateful.
Who's the most influential martial artist of all time and why?
Wow. I'm gonna, my opinion only, Chuck Norris. Bar none, Chuck Norris. Granted, Bruce Lee had his influence, great influence, but damn, Chuck Norris, baby, all the way. Yeah.
What excites you most about your next 5 years of training?
Oh, Christ. Probably just the idea of being able to share the knowledge that I've gained in 54 years of martial arts. Like Samura Sensei gave me so much as a person, and then as a martial artist, I learned so much from him. Quick story. The first time I went to Japan, part of the Canadian team, I was the captain of the team, and so 5-member team. And so we went, and before we went, Samura Sensei took me aside and said, I'm going to give you a lesson. And I went, oh, okay, Sensei. And then boom, bang, bang, bang. Holy shit. I'm ready to, this is my Sensei, but, he's trying to take me out, right? So we went a little bit, and then he says, okay, now, just to let you know, expect that when you get there. He says, they're going to test you. You're a white boy, and, so here's the story. There's really good Japanese fighters, and there's really bad ones, just like here. So I went, oh, he says, so remember that. He says, be prepared to get tested the day you arrive. And sure enough, the shit happened. So the sensei wouldn't test me. It was the senpai of the dojo.
Yeah.
So, I was a shodan, brash, cocky, just won a few tournaments. And this guy's a 4th dan. He's the boss of the stevedores on the Yokohama docks. So he's a tough guy, So I know that. So first thing after the basics, in the class, he's running the class. Then he goes, hey, kumite. He walks right up to me. He goes, me, you. I went, oh, fuck. Okay, here we go. So then, and of course, this is 1971. So right away, I'm like, I'm still trying to, work myself so that I'm not that aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
I should say it that way. So, but he challenged me, the son of a bitch, right? So, okay. So he goes out in this classic long stance, Zenkutsudachi, and Hoo-yah! So I looked at him and went, fuck it. I roundhouse him right in the face. Boom. And he went, oh. I looked at him. He didn't move. Fuck it. I hit him again. Oh, then the dance started. Holy shit. Oh, ba-boom, ba-bang, ba-boom, holy, back and forth for a month and a half, every damn class. So that was 71. Back in 76, when I did the Yai, but I was still doing karate and Kobudo with the O-sensei and Jodo. And then karate. Hey, me and you. Boom, boom, boom. Then in 1980, the last time I was with the Itosakai people, and in this I need to say this. Fumikazu Ichikawa, the senpai, I was 4th dan in 80, and he was 5th dan. He came to the dojo the day I arrived, because the Sadaki picked me up, the son picked me up at the airport, brought me to the dojo. Ichikawa brought his whole family to meet me. He says to me, Sam-san, me, you, kumite, not necessary anymore. Hi, senpai, arigatou gozaimashita. That's the respect.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I just, wow, and I still, to this day, I cherish that, because he was a tough nut, I mean, I'm pretty sure I had a couple of broken ribs and, stuff like that, but I can guarantee you that, I woke him up with a roundhouse in the face a few times.
Yeah, we love to hear it. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you get there?
Welcome. What the hell took you so long? I don't know.
Yeah, you've definitely touched on this one a little bit. Favorite film and TV martial artist?
Oh, Shintaro Katsu. Shintaro Katsu, Zatoichi. Suino Sensei. わかりました?
Yes, sir.
Hi. Yeah. Shintaro Katsu. Yeah, I love his moves and yeah, you know. Anyways.
What martial artist, basically living or dead, would you like to fight with or train with the most in all time?
Chuck Norris.
Yeah,
Chuck Norris. I like the guy. I like his attitude. He's a gentleman. He doesn't get riled. He does. I tell you a quick story. Your previous guest, Monty Guest, right? Monty Guest. Long story short, in that time frame, he was putting together a championship of some sort and a display, thing. So he was bringing Joe Louis in, and so Monty would visit various dojos and try to elicit support to come in, support. So he said, we're looking for somebody to fight. And I said, fuck it, I'll fight him. He said, you can fight Joe Louis? I said, shit, yeah, I'll get my ass kicked, but I don't give a shit. Let's go. So eventually Wally Slokey fought him, but I thought, yeah, so yeah, anyways. Yeah, but Chuck Norris was close with Joe Louis, and and of course Superfoot, Bill Wallace, so that era. These are my heroes. Bruce Lee was not my hero.
Yep. If everyone in the world could have the greatest benefit you've gotten from martial arts, whether they train or not, what would you bestow upon them? What would you give to everyone?
Simply, I guess, just to to be part of this fantastic global martial art community. I mean, it's just I don't know any other kind of community that does this with people, that changes them completely, makes them better people. So I would say becoming part of a martial art community, whether it's judo, karate, kendo, iaido, aikido, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just start, and I mean, 54 years and I ain't giving up until I'm 110, so hell with it. Yeah, because I love it. Karate is my passion right now. I don't do too much iaido anymore. I have a titanium hip. I have a hernia operation. I have a quadruple bypass. So I've had some run-ins with the medical side of the but I'm still here. Fuck them. And I still have that passion for it.
It's beautiful. Greatest achievement and greatest regret?
My family. That's my greatest achievement. Bar none. Greatest regret. Let me put it this way. The greatest regret is becoming a victim of the intrusion of nasty politics within the martial art, within my martial art journey. Like I said, I was 15 years with pretty much 15 years with Samura Sensei, and then politics got their nose in there. And when I left Samura Sensei, I was the fifth Dan, and I resigned. I left. 10 years independent. Then I joined with Murayama Sensei, and there's a long story with that. And I was almost 30 years with him. And that fucking politics came in again. This time it was a different kind of politics, but I just walked away from it. I said, no, I don't want to be part of this. No. I mean, no. It's not for everybody's, it's my journey. It was my journey. So, yeah. So I just, the nasty politics. That's my regret. Just can't stand that.
That's a very legit regret. We have heard a little bit of that from some of our guests, and like yourself, a lot of people really want to respect certain specifics.
Yeah.
But it does seem to be a bit of a through line that when that politics shows up, it doesn't do any good.
No, honor, duty, loyalty, Suino Sensei, ongiri. I still have ongiri to Tsumura Sensei, and somewhat to Moriyama Sensei. But hey, when other things get in there and try to pull us apart, I'm responsible for bringing in 5 countries into that organization: Canada, USA, Britain, Australia, and South America. I brought them in. They contacted me. I could have kept that country for me and become, no, pass it on. 1 year probation. I train with them. I make sure everything's good. Then I say, Sensei, don't touch my stat. Those are, So, yeah. So the politics, when somebody gets their, nose out of joint for whatever reason, yeah, I can't take it. So I try to avoid it. In Ontario, as a fairly experienced competitor, successful, I went from competition, I went to refereeing. Why? Mm-hmm. Because I got ripped off so many times as a competitor by bad refereeing. I mean, biased, one-sided, So then I went, okay, I spent 15 years refereeing internationally, globally, everywhere. Then I went from refereeing to coaching, to help, my people. And so that they have that, so now they know. A lot of people in Canada knew, don't mess with him. If he's the referee, you can't get away with shit because that guy knows what he's doing. I know all the tricks. Then I went to coaching, coach my guys. I had a couple of, world champions. Then I went, okay, so now, into the politics side. I was vice president of the Ontario Federation. Then I became president of the Ontario Federation. Then vice president of the National Federation. When I got to the National Federation, the politics of the provinces, oh my God. I just went, fuck it, I'm out of here. I did my term. Thank you, full term. Don't ask me to be part of this again, because I can't stand that petty crap. Get on the floor, let's train.
Amen.
Yeah. So anyway, Amen. So I'm sorry, that's me.
Yep. Well, we hear that, and I think everyone in this call agrees. Sensei, we weren't lying. Time is a bitch. Shit. And flies by more than you could possibly imagine. And plus, as you know, we do like to take the last 5 minutes at least and just have a little say about what this interview was for us, what we heard, and what we appreciate about your time. And we always start with Hanchi Legacy.
Yes, please.
Well, it was interesting. You were there before I was, so there was a lot of stuff about Tony Facetti and those guys. Even though I once fought Tony Facetti and felt the front end of his reverse punch right on the chin. Just, yeah. But it was interesting to hear your end of it, because you're not always present for all the what goes on in the background,
Yeah.
So it was good to hear your end of it.
Well,
Thanks
thank you
for that.
And just to let everybody know that I've heard your name from that era since then, so I know who you were right from back then. So yeah, and my respect for you has always been there, and that's why when I heard that Patricia Beauregard joined you, I went, fuck, all right.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Hanchi. Sensei Suino?
Yeah, man, I'm at some point I would love to, Sensei, maybe just you and I can chat about this. I'd love to go deeper about, training and testing EI in Japan. It was so nostalgic to hear you talk about those testing days, those long days with hundreds of people. They were brutal, but exciting. And the memories are incredible. So thanks for bringing that back, and back also some of the old cities that I used to train in and do other crazy things in back in the day. So thank you so much for being here. And of course, as you know, we barely scratch the surface on stuff. It's just the nature of the show.
Well,
thanks, Sensei Suino. Sensei Dolphin?
Yeah, before I give my thoughts, I just want to say thank you to Hanchi Burkowski, who I see is on the call now, Sensei Conrad Copeland, who I was chatting with a bit, Sensei Doug Nipsel, who I think has actually been on every single call we've done so far, always providing positive comments and supporting us. I see a guy I love and respect immensely, which is John Kettleberger. And then we have Hunchitarian on the call as well, who I know there were names mentioned where I can just picture him smiling. So Sensei Moledzki, I'm sorry that I put an S in front of your name when I first introduced you. That was error on my part. And I apologize for that.
Well, as
I
long
like
as
that-
as long as you don't call me, by what some people used to call my wife by accident, right? On purpose. Oh, Sandy molest me.
No,
Oh yeah. It's like, no, thanks. Yep. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
no, that's okay. No apologies necessary. I like when you talked about your beginning, you talked about Jim Hart. I like it when you talk about your best friend. Every time I've talked about you, you've talked about Bill Pinkerton, Pinky, and you've always mentioned that he was your best friend. I really like that when your Sensei Legacy always talks about his past. That reminded me of that and his friends from back in Sarnia. I thought it was really brave when you talked about your abusive father and you just shared that with everybody. That's something that not everybody would do. Benny Allen. Interesting that your real estate agent's daughter was dating him. That's something that I definitely never knew. And I would never know unless I talked to you tonight.
What was her name,
Oh man, I can't remember. I'd have to ask my wife. She's good. She's good with women's stuff, right? So they chat and they know each other's names, and I just really okay, good for you. Because
All right.
because Burl, that was the mother, the real estate agent, Burl, and she asked me, do I know this martial art guy named Benny Allen? I went, yeah. She says, well, my daughter's been going out with him, and I went, okay, and then I can't remember what she said, but I didn't think she liked it. So
Okay, thanks.
I'll just stay away from that. Not my business.
All right.
Yeah. Burl something. Yeah. Sorry.
I liked, it's very interesting to me that all your trips were paid for and by a Samora Sensei and that you felt blessed by that. And you definitely were. And all of us were by the experiences that you were able to pass forward. 8 to 10 hours a day training in Japan.
Yeah.
Nobody can, everybody wants that. Everybody on this call wants 8 to 10 hours of training a day in Japan. Again,
Yes.
since Legacy mentioned it already, it was really nice to hear stuff about Tony Facetti and Wally Slokey and Ted Martin. I know for sure that Hunchitarian was smiling when you mentioned George Sylvan. That was something that I know would have brought joy to him.
Just to interrupt here, you mentioned Sensei Tarian. First time I mentioned his name when I was with EMOF as a representative with Cesar Brakowski, Ron Yamanaka, and myself. When I left EMOF, I recommended John Tarian to take my place. So, because I knew already that he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And to this day, he's still a good guy.
Yeah, he's the best. Love that guy. I love him with all my heart. Like you, I really like Chuck Norris. I'm happy that you said he's your hero. I like his movies. I've never heard anybody say a bad thing about him. Yeah, I like that you said in your next 5 years, you're just excited to continue to share. Yeah, you talked about Giri, which is something that Hanchi Burkowski talked about. And the last thing I'm going to say is another commonality is that it's really cool that you said that family is your greatest achievement, because I know that that's, again, you mentioned Hunchitarian, but that's something that he often family first. So thanks so much, Sensei Moledzki, for being on here tonight. Yeah, Sean, I don't want to end. I have a couple of other things after you share your thoughts.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sensei Dolphin. First, with regards to this evening, Sensei Moledzki, so much of it's been said already, but you know, I just on such a deep level connect with the idea of how much the world of karate saved you from the world you were in. And that's really all I just want to touch on. I just want to say that I've said to my senseis many times, I'd be dead if it weren't for this art. I know it's true. And I'm not talking about street fights. I'm talking about what it gave me as a way to move through the things that were much more challenging than
Yeah.
any dude on a corner. And,
Yeah.
I was really touched by the way you talked about that. And, I don't have that family experience, but I did feel you talking about it. And again, it's one thing to relate the facts of it. It's another to relate the facts and how they helped you move forward into a more full and when Sensei Dolphin said family, it makes all the sense in the world. That you start here, you get the martial arts, and then your family's actually the
Yeah.
achievement that martial arts gives you. So it's a really beautiful and deep thing. And I just want to thank you for that. I'm going to throw it back to Sensei Dolphin for what he wants to bring up, some
Sure.
housekeeping stuff I know. For everybody watching, our guest next week is Sensei Dolphin. Now I think he's got
The
some
week
fuckery
after.
planned. What's that?
It's the week after. Next week is US Thanksgiving. So there is nothing next week.
Oh.
It's the week after that.
Thank you, Sensei Dolphin. Well, I'm just going to throw it to you entirely then for the housekeeping. And then Sensei Moledzki, as always, we're going to let you have the last word after that. Sensei Dolphin?
Yeah, so last week, grave error on our part by not mentioning that this Sunday from 1 until 3, we're going to do the Capital Conquest edition. Hanchi John Tarian has been doing this event for over 30 years. Honestly, like we all went, Sean, you were there. Sensei Legacy was inducted last year and we walked out on the floor. You're talking about, you go out on a floor like a 10 or 15,000 square foot floor with the most elite instructors on the face of the earth, all out there simultaneously teaching. And this Sunday from 1 until 3, we're going to be sharing the greatest moments from that. We've got over 30 countries already registered, 30 instructors from 30 countries, and we're over 500 registrants already. And we're working our way to 1,000. And I know we're going to hit 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be amazing. It's going to be so much fun. And I'm so happy that this platform that we started is going to be able to help that community stay connected to each other.
Yeah.
Because I know Hunchitarian next year wants to have like a Capital Conquest like nobody's ever fucking seen before. And if anybody's going to do it, it's that guy.
Yes.
That guy's going to put on a Capital Conquest next year like nobody's ever seen before. Then there's some on December 3rd, there'll be some other not notable guy who's going to be on here. But I'm really excited to say that I've been in communication with Sensei Robert Mustard. And if you don't know who he is, he's a very famous Aikido practitioner. He wrote the book, Angry White Pajamas. And we had a really great conversation last week and he's happy to be on the 10th. So we're going to be talking with him on the 10th. And those are the things that I wanted to say, Sean, just before we wrapped it up and handed it over to Sensei.
Thank you so much, Sensei Dolphin. And one quick thing that is always important for me to say that I often forget, we don't, like, for example, Robert Schlumsky is now a father and it's a seamless transition because of Tori who jumps in. So I just want to say thanks to everybody who makes our show happen. Robert Schlumsky, Mike Russell, Victoria Feth running the show tonight, Justin Shea, Alden Adair, Andrei Sedishev, and Sensei Moledzki, take us home. What would you like to leave us with?
The winning lottery number. No.
Please.
Hey,
Please.
yeah, please. Yeah,
Please.
exactly. That would be nice. First of all, I'm deeply, honored to be on this program. I've watched your guests, and I know almost all of them, and personally, and so it's like, yeah, I got some insight from, just listening to them talk about their experiences, and I'm excited that more people are going to be taking part in this, and I just, I think you guys are doing a bang up job. Don't ever stop, don't let the shit, hit the fan. Just keep going, and, people will eventually, click on and go, hey, you know, this is history in the making, you know, and it's good because you're allowing people to understand what was it like in the 60s, what was it like in the 70s, in the 80s, you know. I don't teach the way that I learned in the 60s because I'd be sued today, you know. I've had to put away the Shinai, you know, the persuader. I don't use that anymore, you know, and but you know, you have to change with the times. And I know that this Zoom stuff, and you know, I'm not technically astute all the time. I've got one of my clients that's a techie at the Trent University here, and you know, every time I'm in trouble, I just call him up and he helps me out. So yeah, but you know, I don't know if he's on this call, but if not, then I'll when it comes out on YouTube, then I'll make sure he gets to view it. And I really, you know, I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be able to share this podium, this dais, whatever it is, with you guys, especially Sensei Legacy. You know, like I said earlier, I knew his name right from my time, you know, and it's like, yeah, I know about this guy, you know, and Sean and Randy and I talked a little bit about, you know, what it was like. And I mentioned a term rounder, and he says, yeah, I'm a rounder. I said, yeah, so was I. And you know, different bike gangs and whatnot, and in Toronto. And yeah, I remember right from the 60s and so on, and had my run-ins with, you know, the president of the BDRs, yeah, Johnny Sombrero, and yeah, you know. So anyways, so basically the martial art community is a unique community. And, you know, bringing in the various martial arts and discussing it and letting people know what it meant to them and what it can do for you. That's what really excites me about the future of it. You know, I'm not too crazy. I'm not too crazy about the Olympics of it, but the future of the martial arts. Yes.
Amen. And thank you for your time. It's been a real honor. And as always, the gift is from you to us. Good night, everybody. And I can't wait to see you at Capital Conquest.
Yeah.
Be
Take
safe.
care, everybody. See you soon.
Thank you.
Good night.